Welcome to the Next Gen CMO podcast, where we sit down with seasoned CMOs and emerging talents in sales and marketing to explore the wins and occasional losses that shape today's leaders and the strategic maneuvers that can help propel you to the forefront of B2B marketing.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Next Gen CMO podcast. Today, I'm super excited to invite and welcome Ann Baker onto our show. She is the CMO at Adaptiva, and we're so glad to have her. So Ann leads Adaptiva's marketing initiatives worldwide, growth programs, market awareness, all for the company's autonomous endpoint management products. So she brings to the company more than 25 years of tech. And so she's got lots of stories and experience to share with us. She's been in tech marketing for a long time and always at high growth companies. So we're excited to learn more about not only your career and your background, but also some of the niche you've kind of carved out in partner marketing and how that applies in the certain industries that you've played in and maybe across industries. So we'll see what we learned today. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Kelly. It's great to be here. Really appreciate the invite.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, give us a little a background tour. You have a really impressive background. Tell us about your career journey, how you got to where you're at now, how you got into marketing. When did you want to be a CMO? Talk to us a little bit about that story.
Well, Kelly, like you, I think all marketers should start with an engineering degree. Isn't that the typical way forward? Yeah. No, so I do have, didn't start in engineering. I love kind of just math, tech, always was drawn to that. But then went into product management shortly after graduation. So, sort of the marketing side of the house, but doing it with technical requirements bent, and enjoyed that, did that in the telecom space for a long time, and then started to want to learn more about marketing as I got closer to it and connected with it more in that product management role. So slowly started to evolve into learning different aspects of marketing, whether it was public relations or partner marketing or customer marketing. And as I started building up those skills, started expanding my roles to the point where, now I'm helping to run the entire marketing team here at Adaptiva. And I've been pretty fortunate to have experience working in both big companies and high growth emerging startups. So, working with companies like Microsoft and Teradata and Accenture, where I learned a lot about rigor and process and ways to do things at scale. And then getting a lot of kind of autonomy and freedom and creativity at some of the high growth startups where I was able to work like Icertis and here at Adaptiva and others where you get the pace is a little different, but you get to really touch and experience a whole lot of different aspects of marketing. So that's been a really, great path and journey that I've been on. And, I can't say it started out from the beginning wanting to do marketing, but the more I got exposed to it, the more I really became passionate about it and kind of fell in love with the whole space and wanted to just continue to grow and build my skill set there, which has led me to the CMO role. But I'm not sure that I really set out from the beginning with that intention in mind.
Yeah, awesome. So many things I want to double click into. One, is this your CMO role? How many of you had?
This is actually my second time at Adaptiva. I was here in a VP of marketing role and a few years ago and left and was just recruited back end of last year to be a CMO. So it's been exciting. First time CMO, but really enjoying kind of building up the team and growing it and expanding our partnerships and our just product line across the board here. So it's been a great journey.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, a lot of our audience, sort of part of this next gen CMO concept is one, either up and coming sort of on the brink, future director, VP, senior VP marketers who want to become CMOs, or current CMOs who want to learn from other CMOs, want to take their skill sets sort of to the next level. And so I think that story of being kind of a VP at a company, leaving, get recruited back is really powerful for kind of up and coming futures, just recognizing that every past role sort of can lead to future roles, can open different doors that you can shine in one area and people can see potential that you can do, a broader scope. So I think that's an awesome testimony testament to you and to your company for recognizing that and bringing you back on. So that's great to see.
Yeah. I was listening to, I think it was Kim Storin from Zio Group and some of her talk recently. And I was hearing how, she was saying how she really loves being at like the mid to bigger size companies, more established, so that the startup lifestyle wasn't for her. And I was thinking how, my passion is sort of working with some of these emerging high growth companies. I've worked at both, but I sort of love that pace. And it's just interesting to hear different perspectives and what makes different CMOs tick. So yeah, I've enjoyed hearing and learning from your podcast as well.
Well, thank you. That's nice to hear. Yeah, and Kim's awesome. She's had a great journey. She and I both came up sort of on the same path. We were both chiefs of staff at AMD at the same time. I was the chief of staff to the COO. She was to the CMO. And then both kind of got that exposure to what executive leadership looks like and kind of went our ways. But different from Kim and different, from, or more like Kim, different from you is I've done the startup CMO world and I've done the big companies, and I loved both. I learned a ton from both. I am better at bigger companies. And I won't say big, like friends, and I've done startup. The mid-market I'm in right now is kind of my sweet spot. I like this size. I feel like I can get my hands in, but I can also kind of step out and be strategic a little bit. I have some resources to hire great leaders, but I can also kind of get into the weeds without being sort of overwhelmed. So I like the middle somewhere, but it's amazing. Like after a couple of years as a startup, I was like, that was so fun. And that's not me. I'm not very good at that. Like I'm better at other stuff. Also just where we shine, right?
Yeah. I was chatting with, it was like an intern that was talking to me the other day about just career advice. And I was saying, if you have the opportunity to do both, along your career, you learn so much in terms of just process and how big companies do things and how they execute at scale from being at larger companies. But then, if you're able to work at a smaller company, you can also get your hands in so many different aspects of marketing. It can be a really just learn on the job exposure to a lot of different areas. So there's a lot of benefits to just being at both and seeing where, what you like and kind of what makes you tick. So I do encourage every young person that's starting to try to get both experiences and see what works for them.
Yeah. And, and even the dynamic of publicly traded versus private, PE versus VC fund, like who you're marching towards, how you speak, what the quarter looks like, how budgets work. I mean, everything sort of operates differently just based on the type of company you are too, like regardless of size. And that's pretty a great learning experience as well. So I totally agree. I'm glad that I've done all of it. I've done VC, PE, public, private, and they all have their pros and cons. And I think it takes doing them all to figure that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. One thing you said I wanted to flash back on. So you were an engineer as well. What kind of engineering were you?
I did mechanical engineering. I interned at Boeing many years ago, and but I, after school, came out and went into consulting. Started working with, it was Anderson Consulting at the time, now Accenture. And so never really did true engineering, probably except in my internship. But loved math, kind of loved the whole logic of it all, and it really had a great experience in engineering, but have really started gravitating more towards product management and marketing pretty early on in my career. My dad is still upset. He is a mechanical engineer and he still thinks I went to the dark side, but I really, really love the creativity aspect of marketing. So it's been great.
Yeah. I mean, I was so similar too. I never really wanted to be an engineer, but I was going to Texas A&M, which is known for engineering. And I thought, well, let me get the best degree I can get. And I'm really good at mountain science. And so I'll go do that. And so I got the degree and I did, just like you, I did my internships in engineering. I worked one in a manufacturing plant and then one in a tech company. And then it was like, I don't really want to do that. And then, but I was going to, I was happy to. And then I got a call and a reorg, and it moved me like before my very first day from product development to product marketing. And then I sort of stayed in marketing ever since. And I guess it wasn't quite product marketing, it was product management, similar to you, which is kind of that fine line between engineering and marketing, I think. And then product marketing sort of fully gets you over into the marketing realm. But yeah, same kind of thing. Like, I'm good at this stuff. Do I want to do this stuff? I don't know if I love it, but I do think it potentially yields good respect from engineering and product teams even as a marketer, when you work in a tech company, because I feel like they're like, oh, she gets engineering. Okay. Like she gets some of that. So I think there's great beauty in having that background.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I thank my father too. I mean, he was a mechanical engineer, and I was saying, I enjoy math, I enjoy science. What should I do? I'm not sure I want to teach it. I don't know if I have the patience for that, and he encouraged me to like go into engineering, which, I appreciate at the time because there weren't a ton of women in it. There still aren't a ton of women in engineering. And so I, appreciate that he pushed me there a little bit. And I'll tell you a personal story why I stayed in engineering, actually. So I've been a good student in high school and was fortunate enough to get into Cornell. And I go to Cornell and I take my first chemistry test at Cornell and I completely fail it. And I had never failed a test ever in my life. And I went to go see the professor advisor that they had assigned to me, a female professor in the engineering department, for advice because I was panicking and I didn't know what to do. So this is, early in my first month, I think, at Cornell. And I go to see her and I tell her, I don't know what to do. I failed my first engineering exam. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. And she said to me, a lot of times women can't hack it in engineering. And there are a lot of other majors here at Cornell you could pursue. And so you don't have to do this if you don't want to. And I got upset. I remember thinking, well, wait, I kind of came here for advice and this is my first engineering exam and you're telling me to like drop out and try something else. And so I actually like doubled down in many ways and I went and I got help and I went to office hours and ended up sticking with engineering and getting my engineering degree and actually, even being president of the Society of Women Engineers to get more women to come to engineering. And my husband likes to joke that I just got my engineering degree out of spite because of that experience. And I was like, I'm going to show you, like, I can do it. But it was funny. And it has made me always appreciate that, like in those difficult situations, especially where women throughout their tech careers or early on in engineering, it can be really difficult. And there'll be many moments where you think maybe I should do something different or go down a different path, and having people around you who encourage you to stay with it and try to support you and lift you up in those difficult moments can be really important. And so anyway, that's one of the reasons I stayed in engineering and I'm really grateful I did it. And I like you, feel it's really has helped my career, even in marketing, just in terms of how I think and having a little bit of understanding of what some of the developers are doing on a daily basis. So.
Well, I mean, it's a great story. It's a horrible story. It's a great story. Like that advisor, like, no wonder there's not more women in engineering. Now, when you get a pep talk like that, like a lot of women.
I know. I mean, I think she thought she was being either that or it was reverse psychology, but thought she was being helpful. Like, you don't have to stress out. There are a lot of other options. But, if we discourage everyone on their first test from leaving it, to leave engineering, that's not what we want to do. So definitely would love to see more women, especially in cybersecurity, but in the tech field altogether.
Yeah, when I remember my first Chem 101 test, it was, I got like 47 on it. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh. And then somewhere in there, I think we only maybe had one test before the midterm. And then I think we had 2 tests in the final after. And so at midterm, I think my GPA was like a 2.1 or something. And I'd always said, I'd never in my life. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, what is this? And so I just had no idea. And so I'm like studying like crazy, trying to get, and I maybe did a little bit better, not much, like maybe a 60 on the next or whatever. And then I ended up at the semester with like a 3.9. And it was because like there's this massive curve on those engineering weed out classes. And I didn't know the curve at midterm. Midterm doesn't factor the curve. They don't do that until the end of the semester. So I'm like, man, you just stressed me out all semester long when you knew that 47 was going to become a 92 by the end of the semester. Because because of the curve you're going to put on this. Because I was like, man, everybody's scoring everything. I don't understand. And had to learn like, oh, that's how all these weed out classes work. And and then after that, like, grades were fine. But it was like that first semester, I had to learn the hard way of like, oh, this is what not straight A's feels like.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it was just a huge transition period, I thought I was, super smart. And then you get to college and everybody is, super smart. And there was just a huge transition. And it's in those transition points of life. You hope you have people around you that are lifting you up and helping you succeed and stick with it. And so, throughout my career, I've definitely just, it's been something I've been very conscious of, from that point forward, and how hard it can be just to stick with it and push yourself and keep going. So yeah, it's something I'm passionate about in general.
Awesome. I love the resilience. I love the book, the engineering out of spite, potentially. It's a great motive. Times I look at my kids all the time. I'm like, which of you gets motivated by me saying you can't do something and then you want to do it more, or which ones get more motivated by sort of positive affirmation? And each of my kids is different. And so the way that I encourage each of my kids is different because of that, right? You just never know what's going to get people to kind of buckle down and try harder. So, well, cool. Okay, let's get into it a little bit. So something you mentioned as we were going through your background, and then and something that I've seen kind of shine in your history is around partner marketing. It's partners are those vague things that not everybody understands. Is partner agencies? Is it SIs? Is it resellers? Is it distributors? What is partners? What does channel mean? That's such a vague term. People say we sell through the channel. So, and then if you're in a niche industry, it's even, more unique on who are those partners? How do we find them? What's in it for them? So tell me a little bit about, one, your passion for partner marketing, and just what do you think makes a partner program successful? How should somebody think about approaching partner? Where should it fit in a career thought? How do you think about it? How did you get into it, and where do you see it shine?
Yeah, early on, and even, one of the first times I was here at Adaptiva, I saw the power of partnerships, especially when you're at a smaller emerging growth company that maybe lacks the credibility or brand awareness that your larger counterparts do. If you can partner with companies that bring that credibility, that bring that just reach, it can make a huge impact for a growing company. And so here we took advantage of that early, doing a lot with the whole Microsoft community, doing a lot with VMware at the time, the first time I was here at Adaptiva. And I saw how that can really help you scale and really help you grow your business if done correctly. And then I was fortunate to work at a company called Icertis, which is in the contract management space. Huge Microsoft partner, huge SAP partner. So really got to work some big partnerships that, again, they were really focused at dedicating resources to, dedicating time to, making work. And I saw, when you put that effort in and you put that time in, the benefits that can come from those partnerships. And since then, I've just become a huge advocate of prioritizing partnerships and partner marketing in general, because I've seen when they're done right, how they can really just expand and grow a business. And so here, this year, we kind of are focusing on three key things for Adaptiva in terms of marketing. We're working on brand awareness, building credibility in the market. Partners play a key role of that. We're working on competitive differentiation and showcasing why we're different and what makes us unique in the marketplace. And many of our integrations to technology partners is one of the key things that sets us apart. And then third is just collaboration in general. We're working on building up our pipeline, building up our revenues through deals that we're working on with our partners. And so we've infused partnerships into every aspect of marketing this year. And next, I would say in my more recent roles, I've really focused on partner marketing and done a lot of work with cloud partners, with technology partners, with SI partners, resellers, distributors, all the different kind of categories of partnerships that are out there. Each bring their own unique benefits to companies. Mm-hmm. But I will just say, if done right, and they do take work, they're not easy. That's why some companies really struggle, I think, to get them not only up and running, but working. And it takes a commitment and a focus by the company. But if you do it and you do it well, I mean, really, it has reaped, hundreds of millions of dollars in some cases for some of the companies that I've worked at. So it can be a very powerful lever for brands.
I'm hearing a theme with you, which is hard work, resilience, focus. It's kind of followed you all the way through your career, which is great. So you started off with kind of like the partnerships with VMware, Microsoft, some of these big players. That's sort of the dream state, right? Because the scale is so massive. How do you have any advice on how companies, especially smaller companies or niche companies or startup companies, How do you break into a big company like that and make them pay attention to you as a small player in a niche space when they've kind of got the scale, the resources? And I've worked at Gartner, and I've worked in AMD, and I've worked at some of these big Dell, like these big companies, where sometimes like it's those kind of things are hard to like break into because they're operating everything at sort of big, large volumes, and the little niche players get lost. So how does that work?
Yeah. Oh, no, I mean, you're absolutely right, Kelly. I mean, it can be really hard to stand out, especially with these big partners. They have like hundreds of partners, call on them, yelling at them every day, pay attention to me. And they can only pick and choose, so many that they can dedicate their time with. And so, the lessons I tell my team around establishing those partnerships is, number one, just make sure you're really clearly and crisply differentiating and articulating your value proposition as a company. So first and foremost, you better be able to tell very quickly those partners what makes you special, what makes you different, what your unique selling, and value proposition is for their customers, so they can regurgitate that and understand it very quickly and easily. So work on just making sure you have those talking points like laid down and established. And then next is, you have to be a little memorable. You have to do some things to stand out. If you're just like everyone else and you're inviting them to like the latest webinar or whatever, you may have a little win, but you're not going to really build that cadence, and you're not going to really stand out from the masses. And so you have to be creative, and you have to think of some things that are going to make you stand out, be a little different, be memorable, something that they can use to showcase, internally and externally the power of partnerships. That takes some work, that takes some creativity, that takes some, just idea generation that can be really good. So, be memorable, do things that make you stand out. And then I will also say nothing succeeds like success. So when you get those wins, when you get just even one really great, joint co-selling win, shout it from the rooftops, get that case study, do whatever you can to highlight those successes. Because when, within a partner, a big company like a Microsoft or a Dell, being able to highlight where you've done some great work together and won, and then it worked, and that, customers benefited, the partner benefited, telling those stories loudly and proudly really helps to drive those more success, I would say. People love to say, oh, that worked, I'm going to try it with them too. So being memorable, standing out, making sure you really articulated your differentiation, and then highlighting your wins and successes is really, really key.
I'm assuming, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but that it's not just a partner marketing effort. Is there a strategic relationship component to it? Is there a channel sales component to it? Is there a referral program component to it? As the partner marketing leader or leader of marketing that has partners, a component of that, how do you drive that cross-functional alignment with your own team to make sure that then you can have that sort of multi-threaded approach going into the partner as well? I don't mean to get into the weeds, but I think that's the real, the nuts and bolts of a partner program is sort of all those elements. So it's not just joint webinars, but it's actually putting skin in the game all the way through from relationship to closed one. Tell me a little bit about that side. It sounds like you built some of these or in the middle.
Well, it's really interesting. I will say, it's funny because like when I was at Astartis, partner marketing was in marketing. And I worked, really closely with the marketing team there to drive partner marketing. And then I worked very tightly with the business development team who was co-selling and doing those sales. And in many days, I had more meetings with the sales team and the BD team than I did with marketing itself. And then at Teradata, which I was at after Astartis, a data and analytics company, much larger than Astartis, it's like 7,000 people, I think. It was, it had a good portion of partner marketing within the actual partner team itself. So, I feel like it's one of those roles in marketing where you really, really have to be in lockstep with sales, whether you're in the marketing department purely or you're actually a portion of the larger partner teams, which are, becoming bigger in many companies and getting their own kind of channel chief and everything. That role of partner marketing has to have a very sales oriented lens to it. And and really has to be working closely with sales. And there should be a lot of scrutiny around not just kind of the co-marketing metrics, so looking not just at, am I driving leads? Am I driving MQLs and, SQLs and everything through to, and, with partners, but also looking at the co-selling metrics. Like, is it working? Like, not only am I getting leads, but are we actually, getting referrals from our partners? Are we getting pipeline and revenues from our partners? What's the ROI on these partnerships? And so that kind of data really needs to be collected, measured, looked at on a constant basis from both partner marketing and business development, because it's the only way you can really look at in a very, objective lens, is this partnership working or isn't it? And so, I think the partner marketing role today has evolved to be one that isn't just about brand awareness and lead gen. It's really looking at that entire partner journey, and are we bringing in the revenues and referrals and deals that we need to make the ROI from this partnership work?
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, it's just more complicated. Just getting share of voice from partners and in their sales motion, or in the reverse, like getting, them getting share voice of your sellers and the way that they sell. It's hard. I mean, they've got so much on their plate to try to squeeze in this other sort of partnership as well. Have you had any just big success stories that you're super proud of in the world of partner, or even massive failures where you realize, like, a lesson learned after you did it, like, oh, this was the problem, we did that wrong, we're going to do that?
Yeah, I would say, like, one of the important things with any company, especially if you're just starting out with a partner program, is you don't need a million partners. Like, maybe just pick a few to start with and do those really right, and work on building up and establishing momentum and good processes around those partnerships. And then you can scale from there. So I encourage people to just focus, get a couple key partners, be really strategic about it, and then look at the different aspects of partner marketing. So if I'm interviewing someone for a partner marketing position and they don't talk to me about through partners, then I don't think they really understand the space. Because to establish, good rigor around partner marketing, you have to do partner marketing where you're enabling them, where you're running those kind of programs that train them and get them really educated on your product and in your company. Then I would expect, and with every partnership I've ever done, we kick off a lot of with marketing stuff. So just to build momentum with those partners, you have to be willing a lot of times to invest and bring them with you on those webinars, on those joint campaigns. Do some work up front to kind of bring them with you, get them in the boat, get them swimming in the same direction as you. And then usually after that momentum starts getting established is when I move into more through marketing, where I look to what my partner's doing and how can I do more with them and through their programs and their events and their channels. And the most success I've had really probably has been at Isartis, where, I think it was in 2021, we won both a Microsoft Partner of the Year award and a SAP Partner of the Year award. Really did some great work picking a couple of those key partners and finding ways that we could just do these larger multi-channel campaigns, not just like one webinar here or there, but, doing email marketing, doing webinars, doing all sorts of different digital channels together and carrying themes and campaigns across multi-channels to reach people. And one of the events I did there that I was most proud of was it was called Isartis Healthcare Day. Mm-hmm. And we had, I think it was like about a dozen different partners join us for a whole day where we did a number of different sessions on different topics for the healthcare industry and ways that, together we could talk about just thought leadership and trends that were happening. We had Dr. Sanjay Gupta kick it all off, and it was right during kind of that COVID time. So, it just was a really topical event. Partners really leaned in and promoted it and joined us and did all these really great sessions. We loved having Sanjay Gupta there to kind of work with us, and the event was just great. We had over 800 people join, and it drove not only a lot of revenues and opportunities for both us and our partners, but gave us just a ton of content that we could then use and splice and use in different ways going forward. So that was a great win, and just was wonderful to see so many different partners come together to make that a success. But then I'll also say that, there are sometimes partnerships, just like a relationship in general. Sometimes you're in a relationship and you're like, this is not working. Like, either I'm putting in way more effort than they are, or, it's just not clicking. You're not feeling that kind of good relationship. But I always will say, go back and look at the data, because sometimes you'll be in it and maybe the personalities don't always click, but the data is showing that it's working. So that's why I think metrics are good. It takes some of that kind of emotional feeling out of it to say, okay, is this partnership good for the business, or is it just not, working? And having those data points that you're tracking allows you to really evaluate the partnerships with a closer lens to say, okay, this one is just not bringing referrals. I'm putting all these hours in. We're not getting leads. We're not getting deals out of it. And it might be time to move on, because time is precious these days. If a partnership isn't working, you only want to invest so much before, you move on to something that's a better fit.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of great meat in there. It's tough because you're trying to build a relationship. You're trying to build a trusting relationship, a partnership. You want them to want to do programs with you, want to bring you business. Same in the reverse, but also holding folks accountable to doing their part. I mean, I had a program review yesterday with my team, and one of the programs was, we had 549 registrants. It's a joint program we're doing with a partner. And I was like, okay, 549, that's pretty good. It was like for a webinar. And I said, well, how's the partner? What have they driven? They had said, well, they've driven 38 registrants. And I was like, if we're balanced here, like we should maybe push them a little harder on like promoting more on their side. Like, I don't know, it feels pretty balanced right now. How are the costs working out? What is the audience that's coming in? Because I don't know if we're getting the extended reach. That part of the partner efforts is to get extended reach into each other's networks. And it's hard to do that when you're only seeing like a incremental value. So yeah, it's a tough one for sure.
You're not alone in that. I mean, there are like, I will just say, one of the things I was telling my team is you have to make it like super easy for partners to promote you. So you have to kind of just, serve up to them on a silver platter. Here's the social. Can you go post this? Here's the, the kits. Can you send this link to your salespeople so they can, here's the email. Like, you just have to put in the customer's name, which can feel a little bit like spoon feeding, but is really kind of what you have to do probably a lot in the beginning to get them to really kickstart promoting you. Just because, again, they're getting pulled in so many directions. They got their own products to promote and sell. So getting that attention and mind share, it does usually take a little extra work to pull everything together and make it just super, super easy to work with you as a partner. If you do a lot of the work and you start building that momentum, then you'll find it comes a little bit more organically. But I have found almost every time up front, you just have to almost like just drag them along. Like, if you pull the whole kit together, make it super easy where they're just sort of clicking a button, doing little things to help promote. And then they'll just start doing it again more organically, typically as that momentum builds. And the other important thing, I think companies forget this a lot. They start the partnership. They want to tell each other about, their products. But planning incentives for the sales teams, looking at, are we doing discounts? Are we giving them incentives for registering deals? Are we giving them spiffs or rebates? Special offers, things like that. Those types of thoughts are in a very clear program set up front can make a world of difference in terms of just having them actually, their sellers pay attention to you and bring you into deals. A lot of sales teams are coin operated, and if you really want to have an effective partner program, laying out those incentives and promotions and explaining them very clearly up front on what's in it for the partner to work with you and promote you is really important as well.
Yeah. So, Anne, I'm going to switch gears here real quick, because I've heard that not only are we engineers and now CMOs on the same path, we also have kids who play sports, lots of sports, lots of tournaments, and lots of travel. It is my life. It fills my every waking moment of not working is doing one of those things. So I'd love to hear any advice from you, or anything that you've learned in kind of figuring out how to balance all of that together. Not the like solving work-life balance challenge, but just like sports and specific. What you got?
Yeah. I mean, I was not hugely athletic in school, but I have two kids who are very, very athletic. And my older son actually goes to school for skiing. He does all that kind of freestyle skiing, flips, crazy, crazy skiing. And so he does that on a very competitive level where he skis every day and does school in the afternoon. And then my younger son is in basketball and baseball at a select and travel level. So we are very committed to our sports in the house. And I love it. So I love just watching them. And I love all the lessons that sports teach my kids about, again, resilience and being good teammates and, just the highs and lows of it all and how to cope with that. I think it's wonderful, but it does take a tremendous amount of time, which is really hard when you're in these type of roles. And I've just found like it's something I just prioritize and try to make time for. And I can't always be at everything, and I try to give myself grace when I, can't. But it is something I just, I think now that my older one is getting older and is going to be leaving soon and, was entering his senior year. And I've just become so much more appreciative of how short this time is, even though it could feel overwhelming when you're in it. And so, especially with the younger one, I'm really trying to savor and make time for those sporting events, those moments where I can, be there to cheer them on. Because it's tough when you start seeing them leave, with my older one going away to this kind of ski school. It's an adjustment period, and you love seeing them enjoy it and get real, passionate about it. But it can be hard for the parents to both just find the time to make it all work for them, but also, see them going to be, moving on and that time being kind of brief. So it's something I definitely enjoy doing and spending a lot of time on these days, but it can be tough to just make it all work with everything else that's going on. So someone was asking me the other day about, finding how to balance it all. And I'm like, you don't balance it. You try to make it work. You fit it in as much as you can. You prioritize what, is the most important thing. And you give yourself a lot of grace when you can't always be there and can't always do it right.
Yeah, I think those are two great themes. Like you push to fit it all in and you give yourself grace. I think those are exactly right. I have three in there. We do travel volleyball and travel baseball, and we've traveled 7-on-7 football and tackle football and all kinds of stuff. And so I feel you. And you just, it's just a day by day, hour by hour, squeeze it all in kind of existence, and recognizing that we can't be everything at once. But I appreciate your feedback there. I am going to probably wrap us up soon. So if listeners want to find you, follow you, contact you, what's the best channel to do that?
Yeah, I mean, they should definitely check out adaptiva.com. I'm on there blogging and they can contact me there. I'm also very active on social.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. I'm sure you'll get some people reaching out to you after this episode. So thank you so much for your time. Listeners, thank you for joining us. We will see you on the next episode of the Next Gen CMO podcast. And Anne, it was so good to have you today.